Hello, my name is Davis Robertson, and this is my presentation on night flights and commercial operations. In this presentation, I will be going over the night definition and regulations, the differences and challenges of night flying, and emergencies and risk management while flying during night. So first off, night definition. The FAA has the definition of night as the time between the end of evening civil twilight and the beginning of morning civil twilight in the American Air Almanac converted to local time. So this is the definition of when night starts and when that duration is. For commercial operations, you must be instrument rated to operate under commercial privileges at night. For the plane, you must have position and anti-collision lights on during night operations. In order to carry passengers, you have to have 3 full-stop landings in the past 30 days. Another thing the plane has to have is a 45-minute fuel reserve. So those are all just kind of like the regulations that are generally known during night. Just different differences from the day, and it's mainly to have a little bit more safety there as well. Next up, challenges of night flying. So this is where the bulk of it is, honestly. So first off, to start with the pre-flight, it is good to sit in a room or have sunglasses on or something like that where you can get your eyes to get used to the light, because your eyes, it takes a lot longer for them to get used to night vision and being able to see in the dark versus being able to see during the night. So it takes a long time for your eyes to adjust to darkness, and any bright lights or stuff like that can blind your night vision. So it's really good just to stay in a dark room, a dark area, or wear sunglasses and just try to get your eyes acclimated to the light and be prepared for your pre-flight. Another thing is that you can do on the pre-flight is either pre-flight it in the day or during, like, say, dusk periods, or if you're flying much later, you have a red light or something of the sort so that you do your pre-flight with light without having to blind your eye vision. Terrain. So at night, it is dark. Especially if there's no moon or anything like that. If there's cloudy skies, it is very hard to see terrain. And so a lot of those dangers can come, say, on an approach where you really want to fly with the glide slope or the VASI or PAPI, just to make sure that you're not going to be flying into terrain. On, say, cross-country flights, fly 2,000 feet above where you would normally fly. Just make sure you're not going above where you would need oxygen for, because at night, the FAA recommends above 5,000 feet that you have supplemental oxygen. So just different things there with the terrain, just safety precautions, making sure that you are flying and you're planning your flights well so you're not flying into any areas that you could have extreme issues with, and just trusting your instruments and stuff like that. So on weather. For weather, there's a lot of dangers here. I've done this myself before, where I was on a VFR cross country and I accidentally flew into a cloud at night because I couldn't see it. The main thing that you notice is all the lights around slowly start to disappear, and you just want to turn around and get right back out of there. So weather can be a really big problem during night flights, and it can be a really serious issue. The main thing is weather, just like terrain, is a lot harder to see during night, and so it's a lot more difficult to know what is where. Some systems that can help with it is, say, like NexRad or different radar systems. Proper flight planning and making sure that you know where the ceilings are in every area is also very helpful. Another thing that's your friend is ATC. They are able to tell you where clouds are over certain airports and areas, and you can also get a pop-up IFR clearance if needed at that time. There are a lot of illusions at night. So some of the different ones are somatographic illusions, the ones where you're staring at a light and it seems like it's moving. Flashing lights can give you dizziness and motion sickness, bright light strobes, anything like that. They can all be extremely dangerous. Some other illusions are, say, false horizons, where the horizon you're seeing is a bit lower than the actual horizon. And so where you're angled towards, flying towards that horizon, is actually angled lower than where you should be flying, which can lead to control flight into terrain or CFIT. On emergencies and risk management. So again, with, say, control flight into terrain, or if you have an engine out, where do you land? This has become a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this. So for instance, when I first started doing private, one of the discussion boards that was put out was this exact question. On an engine out, on a night flight, where do you land? And the main two things are, do you land where it's light and where you can see better? Or do you land where it's dark so there's less people around? And it's honestly more of a philosophical kind of question than it is an actual question, because there is no correct answer to this. My personal opinion would be to try to land on a well-lit area where there is nobody around, maybe a highway or something like that, where there are cars, but if you're at night, hopefully less people will be around at that time. Some other areas might be, say, open fields, possibly like a soccer field, open park, stuff like that, where there's not likely to be anybody around. The main problem with this is if your engine is out, you are silent. People cannot hear your engine roaring and get out of the way. You are a silent gliding machine. The main problem with flying into a dark area is that if you cannot see the terrain, you can't exactly fly very far into the crash because you don't know when you will be hitting said objects. Proper scan techniques are very helpful when looking for other aircraft. At night, it's a little different, where you're not trying to look exactly at the aircraft, but you're going to try to use your peripheral vision to spot the aircraft and their lights. So just keeping your scan going across the sky to look for aircraft, as well as across your instruments, because again, there's very limited visibility and you won't be able to see different things such as the horizon, possibly other terrain. And so trusting your instruments is the number one thing, just as like in instrument flying. Altitude is also your friend. Again, like what I was saying before with just terrain and different things, the higher you are, the safer you will be. So as long as you have much more altitude, including on the approach, a lot of times people will come in a lot lower because there is a lack of visual references on the ground. So your approach will be much lower than usual. But altitude and keeping that high and maybe doing a bit of a steeper approach is a much better idea on those flights. And that is all. Thank you for listening to my presentation.